Morning students. Uh, we have learned about price effect and income effect. So today we will learn how with the help of price effect we can derive the demand curve of the consumer, and how with the help of income effect we can derive the angel curve. So let's start about deriving the demand curve. So initially, suppose this is the price line, that is PL, and this is the indifference curve, suppose IC. So the tangency point will give the equilibrium. We know that the consumer is in equilibrium where the indifference curve is tangent to a budget line. So the tangency point will give us equilibrium E, where the consumer is consuming this much amount of Y and this much amount of X. Now, if we derive this line in the lower panel of the diagram like this, and suppose arbitrarily, ঠিক আছে, arbitrarily মানে এমনিতেই আমরা একটা প্রাইস দেব, তো suppose this is the price. So with this price, this is the quantity demanded by the consumer. Arbitrarily this price is given, ঠিক আছে. Now when we have drawn this particular curve, we have taken the assumptions that price of X, price of Y, and income, these three things are constant. Now suppose price of Y and income are still constant, and if price of X falls, so if both the variables remain constant and if price of X falls, then our budget line will rotate from PL to suppose PL1, which implies that earlier আমরা যতটুক X consumption করতাম, এখন price of X কমায়, now we will consume more of X commodity. So now if we consume more of X commodity, then our satisfaction level will increase, and accordingly our indifference curve will move towards right from IC to IC1. So the new tangency point, that is E1, will show you how much amount of good X you will now consume. So suppose it is X1. Now again if we derive this particular line like this, এখানে দেখ X1 কেন বেড়েছে, আগে X ছিল এখন X1. Why it has increased? Because your price of X is decreased compared to the earlier situation. So if earlier it was like this, now price of X will decrease like this. So now it is suppose PX1 and this is X1. ঠিক আছে. Now again suppose again the same situation happened, that is if again suppose price of Y and income has remained constant and price of X has still decreased, then again your budget line will rotate like this from PL1 to PL2. Now when your price of X will decrease, then you will consume more of commodity X compared to the earlier situation, which implies that your satisfaction level will increase and you will move to a higher indifference curve like this, IC2. So this is your new equilibrium point E2, where you are consuming this much amount of good X. যদি এটাকে আমরা আবার নিচের দিকে নিয়ে আসি, এটা X2, এখানে আগে যতটুকু প্রাইস ছিল প্রাইস আবার কমেছে বলে আমরা এখান থেকে এখানে গেছি, তো প্রাইস যদি কমে আগে যদি এটা থাকে তো এখন এটা হবে PX2. সো দিস পার্টিকুলার লাইন, ঠিক আছে. সো এখানে দেখো ইন দ্য লোয়ার প্যানেল অফ দ্য ডায়াগ্রাম আমরা তিনটা পয়েন্ট পেয়েছি, এটা একটা পয়েন্ট, এটা একটা পয়েন্ট, আর এটা একটা পয়েন্ট. So by joining all this equilibrium point we will get a curve, and this curve is nothing but the demand curve of commodity X. We know that the demand for commodity X shows the functional relationship between price and quantity demanded for X. So here the demand curve is downward sloping. It implies that your price and quantity is having a negative relationship, and that is very much obvious because we know that from law of demand that price and quantity are having a negative relationship. So if price is this, then quantity is this. If price of X falls, then quantity will increase, and if price of X further falls, then your quantity will further increase. So from this we are getting a curve, and this is nothing but the demand curve for commodity X, and this is how we can derive the demand curve for commodity X with the help of indifference curve approach and budget line. Clear? So if question comes like this, how we will derive the demand curve with the help of indifference curve analysis, then this is the answer. So see, এখানে যখন আমরা করেছি এদিকে গুড x এদিকে গুড y করেছি, গুড y কে আমরা কনসিডার করিনি বিকজ আমরা ডিমান্ড x এর বের করছি, তো x টাকে আমরা নিচের দিকে নামিয়ে প্রাইস অফ x কনসিডার করে করে ডিমান্ড কার্ভটা ড্র করেছি, y is constant here. Clear? Now we will derive the angel curve from income effect. So suppose income, price of x and price of y are constant, and this is the budget line and this is the indifference curve IC, and budget line is PL. So the point of tangency will give you equilibrium, where equilibrium commodity y is this and x is this. এখন এই এক্সটাকে আবার যদি আমি নিচের দিকে নামাই, we will get a line like this, যেখানে ইনকাম ভাবো এতটুক আছে, ঠিক আছে, ইনকাম ইজ দিস আর এক্স কমোডিটি কনজাম্পশন করছি আমরা এতটুক। নাও if price of x and price of y remains constant and the income of the consumer increases, so if income of the consumer increases and the price of both the commodities remains constant, then your income, that is your budget line, will shift towards right from PL to P1L1. So when you have more income in your hands, then you can purchase more of both the commodities PX as well as PY. So when your income will increase and you will purchase more of both the commodities, then your satisfaction level will increase, and accordingly your indifference curve will shift towards right from IC to IC1. So this is the point of tangency, the point of equilibrium, where the consumer is consuming this much amount of Y and this much amount of Y and this much amount of X. Now আমরা x টাকে আবার নিচের দিকে নামাবো, আর x কেন বাড়ছে? because your income has increased. So we will get a curve like this, where your income has increased, like your demand for commodity X has also increased. Now again suppose price of X and price of Y are still constant and the income of the consumer has increased. So again, if your income increases, then your budget line will shift towards right to from P1L1 to P2L2. So when you have more income in your hands, being a consumer, you will always try to increase the consumption of both the commodities. So when your income will increase from P1L1 to P2L2, when your income will increase, prices of both the commodities remaining constant, then your satisfaction level will increase, and accordingly your indifference curve will shift towards right from IC1 to IC2. So this is another equilibrium point, that is E2. ঠিক আছে, এগুলো equilibrium point. So here when your income will increase, will consume more of both the commodities, this much Y and this much X. So again, by joining this in the lower panel, income বাড়বে, so Y2 X2, দেখ X2 কেন বাড়ছে? because your income is increased. So these are the dots that have joined both the lines. এগুলো dots দিয়ে যদি তুমি একটা curve draw করো, this curve is nothing but your expansion path. So what does expansion path shows? Expansion path shows the relation between income and demand. We know that with the increase in income, demand also increases. But when with the increase in income, demand increases? When it is about normal commodities. If both the commodities are normal, then only with the increase in income your demand will increase, and the expansion path, sorry, it is an angel curve. It's not expansion path, it is angel curve, ENGELCURVE, angel curve. So angel curve is upward sloping line when the commodity is a normal good, ঠিক আছে? Angel curve is a upward sloping line when the commodity is a normal good, because we know that in case of normal goods, with the increase in income, demand also increases, ঠিক আছে? So angel curve will be a downward sloping line if with the income demand decreases. আমরা জানি যে income বাড়লে demand কমে when the case is a inferior good. So angel curve for an inferior good is a downward sloping line, and angel curve for a normal good is upward sloping line. Reason is angel curve shows the relationship between income and demand, and if it is a normal good, then we know that with the increase in income, demand for that particular commodity also increases, and since there exists direct relationship between income and demand of that commodity, that is why angel curve is an upward sloping line. Now, angel curve will be a downward sloping line if the commodity is an inferior good. So, if the commodity is an inferior good, then if with the increase in your income, the demand for inferior good will decrease. So, suppose income earlier was this, so demand is this. With the increase in income, demand will decrease. সো ইনকাম দেখ ওয়াই থেকে y1 হয়েছে, ইনকাম বেড়েছে, ডিমান্ড আগের থেকে কমে গেছে। সো কখন কমবে? ইনকাম বাড়ার সাথে ডিমান্ড কখন কমে? যখন এটা ইনফেরিয়র কমোডিটিস হয়। তো ইন কেস অফ এন ইনফেরিয়র কমোডিটিস, দ্য শেপ অফ এঞ্জেল কার্ভ ইজ আ ডাউনওয়ার্ড স্লোপিং লাইন বিকজ দেয়ার এক্সিস্ট নেগেটিভ রিলেশনশিপ বিটুইন ইনকাম অ্যান্ড ডিমান্ড when the commodity is an inferior good. And the shape of angel curve is an upward sloping line because it shows the relationship between income and demand, and with the increase in income, demand for that particular commodity also increases. So this is all about angel curve, and we can derive angel curve with the help of income indifference curve and budget line. So with the help of indifference curve analysis, we can derive the angel curve like this, and with the help of indifference curve analysis, with the help of price effect, we can derive the demand curve for any commodity. এই সাইডে যেটা থাকবে ওই commodity আমরা derive করতে পারবো like this.